Welcome to Inner Alchemy, a space devoted to exploring your potential for spiritual awakening and human evolution. My name is Rachel, and I am a guide and a teacher to those brave, wild individuals seeking to uncover their power for inner knowing, self-healing, and inner transformation. For almost 20 years, I've walked the path of deep devotion and practice to modern mysticism, shamanic arts, meditation, Ayurveda, and self-inquiry. With this podcast, my purpose is to share with you some of the insights and attunements that are coming to me as a way of passing the torch to you on some of these evolutionary ideas. Whether you're looking to unlock your creative potential, understand your capacity to heal yourself, awaken your intuition, or deepen your connection to the feminine essence, or perhaps to simply make sense of the wild journey that we're making right now on Earth, I hope this work serves you well. I would like you to start by imagining what your life would be like if in the moment you had some kind of challenge or crisis, or if you were in a situation that was somehow asking you to evolve into a wiser, more potent, clearer, more aligned version of yourself. And in the face of that challenge, you were somehow able to pause and just through your own intentions, you were able to gain access to an incredible field inside of you with all of the best teachers, healers, gurus, masters, innovators, artists. If you were able to tap into a field of information and guidance inside of you that is actually more powerful than ChatGPT and YouTube and Google and all of it together, what would you do with that field? Would you be willing to put in the time and the effort to cultivate a deeper connection with that place? Today, I want to share with you a very powerful, actually fundamental practice to take you to the next level in your spiritual awakening or your spiritual practice, which is called the art of contemplation. Now, you may think you contemplate already, but it has perhaps never been more important for you to learn this art in a disciplined and conscious way, or to upgrade your current practice, because we are living in the age of information with all of social media, the news, all the distractions, podcasts, AI. We have an incredible amount of information available to us. But at a certain point, you may be finding that the external sources of information, which are so abundant, can quickly feel like distractions or chaos or just noise. At a certain point of your process, you're going to say, I need to cut the noise, and I need to know from within me. I need to get in touch with my own inner teacher, my own inner guru. And I need insights that are tailored to the incredible complexity, the incredible intricacies, the fast pace, and the agility that is required of you in the world right now. So when things get complex, when the world around us seems to be increasingly fast-paced and complicated, I like to get simple. This has always been at the core of my work. My name is Rachel. I've been teaching breathwork, meditation, and spiritual practice for over 10 years. And the work that I do has always been about helping you get in touch with that divine spark of intelligence inside of you. It doesn't matter what field of interest you have, what your passions are, if you're a scientist, an artist, a business person, a creator. You do have a direct connection to source inside of you that is more powerful and more entertaining and more inspiring than anything you'll find on YouTube or on social media. But I'll admit, it's not always easy to get a direct connection to source within you, which is why teachers exist, which is why we have certain practices and teachings to facilitate that connection for you. And this is what I'm sharing today as a practice, the practice of contemplation. And like any practice, the more we practice, the more we can get good at it. So how do I practice the art of contemplation? Am I already doing it? If I'm already doing it, how can I upgrade? What are the disciplines I need? What are the steps? And how do I know if I am unlocking this source of connection in me? So let's start our conversation with what most people think contemplation is. I want you to start by imagining what contemplation looks like for you. If you can imagine a time in your life where you believed you were contemplating and what that felt like, or what you were doing, where you were. I think one of my first memories of contemplation was in my late teens when I was on a camping trip with some friends. And, getting out to go camping is always a little bit complicated. You need the right clothes, the right food, all the right gear. And so, it took once we arrived on site, it took a few days to really relax and just start enjoying ourselves. But I remember as the trip proceeded, I reached a point where I was sitting by the lake and there was just like this incredible tranquility. And I was staring at the lake with one or two friends, and I was really contemplating on the vision I had for my life, what kind of life I wanted to create, how I envisioned serving, or what kind of adventures I wanted to have, what was really important to me. And that was with very minimal training in yoga and meditation at that time. But, I think everybody does have the capacity to contemplate. And we do have this natural place that we go to, whether it's going for a long walk, or staring at a fire, or gardening, or even just taking a drive and just to be with your own thoughts and not having the news on. So when you're in the contemplative state, you will notice that you have a different quality of mind, or a different state of mind that you are tuning into. Your brain is actually moving into a different brainwave state that is actually, let's say, more dreamy, more holistic, more reflective, inquisitive, and deeply relaxed. This is really important to understand as our gateway into contemplation, because for contemplation, we are creating a space where we are letting ourselves go into a non-ordinary state of mind. And if you've practiced, if you have worked with me before, if you've done breathontology, or if you've done meditation, you are familiar, perhaps, with different states of the mind. Yes, you definitely are. Okay, so we have certain states of the mind where the mind can be more reactive. It can have a lot of fears, a lot of worries, a lot of insecurities, right? We say that the mind can be like a monkey mind where it jumps from place to place. When the mind is uneducated or untrained, it can be very unfocused and undisciplined, and it can take us to a lot of places like worst case scenarios and fears and paranoia, and it can make you believe many things about yourself and others that are simply not true. Okay, so this is why when we work together, you have the experience of observing the mind, and you know that not everything you think is real, right? You've trained yourself again and again to come back to stillness, to come back to the present moment. And you're developing an inner witness. Okay, so this in contemplation invites us or creates space for an entirely different state of mind than the ordinary mind. Okay, so the agitation or the fear, or it has a certain brain wave, and this is the reason why breath work, meditation, contemplation go together, is because they're both related to this state of clarity and neutrality and detachment. So if we go back to your image of where you were when you had your first contemplation experience, or a moment where you may be contemplating, you're probably noticing that you were in a relaxed state. You were in a relaxed, open state. So contemplation is not the same as the mind that is worrying or blaming people or angry or stressed or, doing your taxes, right? It's an entirely different state of mind. And actually, we can actually observe this as through the different states of the brain waves. The other thing about contemplation is that it has a point of focus. So many people will come to contemplation when they are having a crisis in their lives, like a divorce, or after the death of a loved one, or a career change, some kind of major transition that requires them to start looking within. It's like the heart, or the human soul has like a powerful call inward at certain times and certain transitions in our lives. And if we obey that, if we surrender to that, we are naturally drawn into a contemplative space. Okay, now we also can do contemplation with any challenge or at any moment in our lives where we feel like we want to resolve something, or we know we need to upgrade something, or we know we need to approach something differently, but we know that we can't approach the situation from how we've been before. Or, as Einstein says, the same type of mind that created the problem is not going to solve the problem, right? So when we realize that our old habits, or our old mind state, or our old ways of seeing things is not sufficient for us to have the breakthrough, that gives our contemplation a point of focus, right? And so the contemplation, as much as it's a dreamy, relaxed state, sometimes it does have a strong emotional charge related to it. Like pain or longing, or some kind of loss, or some kind of feeling of being disoriented, right? Our soul will create certain conditions to draw us inward towards this place where we are actually open to listening to ourselves in a new way. Now, in our work together, when we do our group work, or in any spiritual teacher, will also provide students or groups with their own contemplation or their own point of focus, right? And so the conflicts and the challenge will be happening simultaneously, of course. But like, for example, in our Inner Mystery School, we're working with ancestral healing right now. And so I give a specific point of focus, and the world being what it is, sometimes our focus is 100%, and other days it's 60%, right? But I encourage the participants to keep their steady focus, because when we set an intention, when we're intentional about something, when we create a space and we align our intentions with our actions, in this case, a specific topic of inquiry, it's like we're creating a void, we're creating a point of focus, and actually the entire toroidal field, like your actual life, will start in alignment with your intentions, will start feeding you with different challenges, different synchronicities, different dreams, different messages, different parts of yourself that you need to look at, right, in response to the point of inquiry. Okay, so your ability to focus, your ability to set an intention towards something, and then create space towards that point of focus, even if you don't know completely where it's going to take you or how to resolve it, is extremely powerful. And if you've worked with me, you know that, right? So, in the case of myself as a teenager contemplating on my camping trip, my point of focus at that point was like, what is my purpose in life? Like, what am I here to do? What do I want to create for myself? Right? So those questions we have, sometimes they can be uncomfortable to sit with, or you're sitting with a part of yourself that it seems like you don't have the answers, or you're sitting with a void, or you're sitting with not knowing yet, like I was, at 18. But that is actually the surrender, or the space that you're creating is actually the best doorway for an entrance point for your breakthrough or for your next insights. We can talk about this contemplation, the power of contemplation in our spiritual process, or in relationship to your relationship with your intuition or your higher self. But actually, this works very concretely in any field. I was speaking with a friend of mine recently who's a psychiatrist, and he was saying that this happens in the world of science all the time, whether it's in chemistry or in physics or in psychology, like the inventors and the artists, like in any field, business. It's like they become so focused on a specific topic matter, and it's something that they're passionate about or something that they're trying to resolve, and it doesn't really make sense to normal society. It's like they're putting themselves in relationship with the field, and sometimes you can see them doing weird things, like they're talking to themselves, or they're like they have all these strange habits, and it's like you're kind of like a mad scientist there trying to connect with this point within yourself, with this field within yourself. And even if they're, like playing with their children or talking to a neighbor, they're constantly, like, everything in their life, because they're so intently focused on their topic of contemplation, everything in their field is feeding this contemplation, is feeding the insights, the satori's, the breakthrough that they're going to have. And then suddenly it's like a flash, like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to do it. And we develop these incredible innovations, or like we're able to leap humanity forward in what's actually possible, right? And so it's very, very similar. It's a very practical phenomena. It may not look like that, like it all the time, like this, the innovator who's like talking to himself, and it, kind of like it doesn't necessarily look super practical or super concrete to put yourself in relationship to the field or in relationship to your own silence or to the space. But this is actually you creating a space for your own inner source to start speaking with you. So if you're taking notes, if I'm inspiring you to start a contemplation practice, which I hope you have, which I hope I have, what do you need to contemplate? What do I need to contemplate? So the first thing is, you might already be contemplating, so we may just be upgrading. Okay, so the first thing you need is you need to create the space. Okay, and so we are often today are so distracted, we are so overstimulated, right? And so it can be as simple as, taking a long walk or going for a drive with no podcast, no news, no music, just like you start with a journal and you write every day. You start honoring the spaces within you, the space with you to be with you, right? And to hear your own inner voice. And the second thing is you want to have a topic of contemplation, something you're focusing on, something to direct your mind. Otherwise, the mind tends to be very unfocused, very scattered. It's going to go to the news and the neighbors and the worries and all these things, right? So you need a topic of contemplation. Oftentimes it's something that you're seeking an answer for in your own life. And if not, this can be something that your contemplation can be deepened or assisted by a teacher or a mentor. The third thing you need is for contemplation is to cultivate a certain state of mind, a certain quality of being. Okay, and this is what you're constantly cultivating in our work together, through the breath, through the meditations, through the feedback. Okay, because the contemplation brain is a combination of the side of you that is relaxed and intuitive and playful and soft and receptive and imaginative, and it's also balanced by a part of you that is in the real world, that is focused and clear and neutral and has a practical side. Okay, so it's really the contemplation brain, as we cultivate it, is actually a balance of the masculine and the feminine brains working together. And you may be stronger on one than the other, and that's fine, but ultimately they assist each other. Right? And this is where your practice and our work together can be very helpful, because if you've ever created a space for contemplation, you may notice that the first thing that happens is not necessarily that you get a lot of insights, but you may be spending some time processing your own noise, processing your inner conversations, processing, the parts of you that are hurt, the parts of you that are angry, the parts of you that are reactive, the parts of you that are, referencing the past or the future, all the, and that is okay. That is your starting point. Okay, where you're creating space. And in the same way as in your meditation practice, when you notice those parts of you coming up, you learn to either sit with those parts of yourself or simply to come back to the present moment. Okay? So it's not required that you are peaceful all the time. As much as I'm saying, you know, that the brain waves are, you're going to be relaxed. If you're in a state, if you're in a challenge right now, or a conflict or something that's really challenging you, that's okay too. It's, you can be relaxed about the fact that you're in pain, or you can be relaxed about the fact that you're angry or you're hurt. It's like it's more like a quality of presence that you bring to whatever is happening in your life, that is opening a space for contemplation and compassion with yourself and your life exactly as it is. Okay, and so in this part of the process is delicate, and this is part of the work that I assist people in doing together all the time, because it is hard to see yourself. It is hard to see where you might be creating certain loops for yourself or in your relationships and in your reality, and to be able to have a guide or someone who you trust to be able to point to those areas and help you move through them, can bring naturally a lot of clarity and a lot of insight, and just make your perception of yourself a lot clearer and a lot more gentle and transparent. I had a really beautiful example of this recently. I was speaking with one of my darling students, and she was really upset with her boyfriend about something. And so she, they weren't together in that moment. She was at home, and she prepared a whole speech of what she wanted to discuss with him and what she wanted to say, and like the whole dialogue, right? And she was present with herself, and as she prepared the speech, and then when she was complete in her speech, she paused and she looked at the speech and she said, I'm never going to deliver that speech to him, because that's not me. That's not the right energy. That's something about that energy is really off. Right. And then she just dropped it. Right. So that's actually precisely what it looks like to be able to witness that some of our thought patterns that we believe and feel are so real to us, to be able to witness them and then somehow sense the difference between what is the real you, the real truth of who you are, the actual source of your own living intelligence, versus the kind of stories and the patterns and the hurts and the negativity that we sometimes collect over the course of our lives. Right? So this is the ability that those patterns can be part of our contemplation at times, but you're constantly in this work training yourself to come back to a certain field of clarity and self-observation and neutrality. And this is also where a teacher or a guide can help you not to waste so much energy into potential traps of our mind or our ego. The final stage of contemplation comes. It's very exciting. And we are going to call it the breakthrough moment. Okay, and this may have happened to you before. You may have had these sudden flashes of insight. We call it the Satori moment. It's from Zen. It's like the moment of enlightenment, or the moment where you get it, or the moment of the breakthrough. It's like a sudden intuitive flash where you get it. You have a breakthrough in understanding. It's not coming from the mind. It's not coming from who you think you used to be. It's like a totally different level of intelligence, and you feel it in your body as grounded and secure. And like, even if some of your stories are a bit humbled. It's like a deep knowing, an incredible inspiration, an understanding that you belong to the field. Like it's a very powerful um, breakthrough moment. And if you've worked with me before, we go to this place all the time. I'm constantly microdosing you on your own satoris, on your own insights, on your own intuitive breakthroughs, so that slowly those breakthrough moments, you'll start to catch how it works and have them on your own as well, right? So this is the breakthrough moment, and you may have to practice, because contemplation is a practice. You may have to practice for a few days, a few months, a few years before these breakthroughs start happening to you. Really, it's you as you learn to practice, but it's still a fun practice, even if like it's such a healing practice. Even if you don't get the breakthrough moment right away, it still has like so many benefits for you that you'll probably find it extremely enjoyable and just a pleasant thing to do. So, and the benefits of contemplation, it's like taking your meditation practice for a walk, right? It helps to balance your emotions, to clear out some of those reactions, some of the negativity, some of the noise of the world. It helps you to be more attuned with your own emotional resilience, with your own heart, with the emotions of other people. It's very calming for the mind, and at the same time, it activates a place inside of you which gives deep insight, which gives deep, powerful wisdom. So it's really not about needing to be calm and relaxed all the time, because in some moments your life is going to require you to be like super incisive or super sharp or super potent or super like set boundaries, or sometimes to get angry, right? Like it's not about being peaceful and calm all the time. That might be a byproduct, but actually it's about the activation of your own truth. And that gives your mind a great deal of peace and security, because you're trusting your relationship with the field, and you're trusting in the relationship with your own heart. Contemplation also serves, because it is so balancing for the mind and the emotions, it also serves as to create like an energetic buffer around you. So it actually protects your energetic field. It strengthens your aura. It puts you more in resonance with, helps you identify the correct resonance with people and places that make you feel at home. So it actually makes you vibrationally, energetically stronger. And it also helps you to activate your higher potential. Like actually, like literally they say on a DNA level, it actually helps you to activate the higher potential of your DNA, because instead of being on a very practical level, instead of just being in the normal state of humanity, which is the stress, which is the anxiety, which is the war, you're actually activating your connection with source, your connection with inspiration, your connection with love. So that has a very healing effect on your DNA, and it actually activates your higher potential. The other thing is that contemplation doesn't necessarily, once you learn to practice it, it doesn't necessarily require you to take space from your life all the time. You can take space, and this is why retreats can be so powerful, or my camping trip my teens was so powerful. These moments where we do create space, or even long walks, that's really powerful. But ultimately, it's you learn to start creating space in anything you do. You can be having tea with a friend, or just the moments of pause in a conversation, right? It's like you start realizing that it's not about doing more, but it's a quality of being in your life that brings spaciousness and that actually allows you to slow down and to bring a different quality of connection and contact into your life. So I personally, I think who doesn't want to do more? And all these talks about relaxing your nervous system, regulating your nervous system. I would say that contemplation is a powerful practice for that state of being of contemplation. The other thing is that right now humanity has we are on the verge of our own breakthrough, like an evolutionary leap in how we learn, in how we think, in like there's a type of, if you're doing this work, if you've listened to this far, there's a type of curiosity that you probably are aware of inside of you to do things in a radically new way. It's the innovation brain. Like, we right now have this potential to really up level, to really, for things to accelerate, but not in a way that crashes the nervous system, but where we actually make like a quantum leap in how we do things, in how we relate to each other, in how intuitive we are, and how attuned we are to this field. And as I say, it's not always about what you do. Sometimes when we want to fix ourselves, we want to jump to the solution, we want to react, we want to control things, right? So we've been really trained by our culture to be more on the masculine side, more on the doing side. But if you're finding yourself there, you'll find that you're feeling agitated, you're feeling rushed, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling aggressive, and it's like a system crash, right? You won't want to work from that place. Naturally, you're going to be seeking balance with the feminine side of your nature, whether irrespective of your gender, right? So contemplation is not about doing, it's about learning to come into a certain quality of alignment first. It's about cultivating a certain state of being. And it's a state of being that balances with our feminine side, which allows us to act from a place of clarity, from a place of inner knowing, from alignment, from the space that connects all things, from your imagination, the playful part of you, right? And in some cases, we do have to do the work, the challenging but fun work exciting work of cleaning up some of our old patterns, right? Because humanity has been operating under a certain type of nervous system, belief systems for a very, very long time. So, but even that, the energy right now is really supporting an accelerated cleanup of our old patterns, so that if you're willing, if you are volunteering to do, if you're curious and you can sustain your commitment to this work, you are making space in yourself, in your life, every single day for a very different quality of reality to emerge. So it's a little bit like when you have like an old computer, when you have a computer that you love, but you've had it for a little too long and it doesn't really, the keys stop working and it doesn't get the latest downloads, and then the system starts crashing, right? So if your system is crashing right now, that's okay too, right? It's part of the upgrade. It's part of you seeking new tools, new alignments, new ways of being. And very quickly, you will find that you've almost forgotten how you used to be, and you're just embodying a new way, right? And so this is why I'm so excited about doing this work with you guys, because even if the old patterns can be very confronting and very like, how do I get out of this? And then suddenly, poof, you're in a different brainwave. Um, and this is really at the core of this because, spiritual masters have been, from any traditions around the world, they've been talking about this for thousands of years, how our mind can be the greatest tool for our freedom, or it can be your greatest enemy by understanding frequency, by understanding that your mind, you can actually learn to attune your mind like a highly receptive antenna to a field where there's different ideas, different inspirations, different insights that are highly attuned to you, to your own soul, what speaks to you, what animates you, what inspires you. And it's a time really where, practices like breathwork and contemplation can help us create spaces for this new humanity, this new type of self-expression, and these new impulses within us to emerge, right? But we need to create the space. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit like before you started meditating. If you've worked with me before you started meditating or doing breathontology, you may have read in books about what was possible in meditation and or had some kind of idea, but you actually had no idea what it was going to be like to taste this flow of grace and simplicity and magic and wow, right? And so I really think that if you are on this path, I would encourage you to start committing to a contemplation practice, whether it's on your walks, whether it's while you're doing the dishes, whether it's while you're driving to work, so that you can truly open a space to align yourself with what I think is coming to be very apparent as our next evolutionary step for humanity. I hope this contemplation on the art of contemplation has served you well, and I appreciate you taking the time to tune in with me and share space. If you enjoyed this episode, if it inspired something for you, if it supported your process in some way, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. I also invite you to share this show, to perhaps follow along, and to stay connected for upcoming practices and teachings. Until next time, keep tending your inner fire, keep breathing deeply, keep contemplating, and keep trusting the wisdom that's already within you. My name is Rachel, and this is Inner Alchemy, where we support your transformation on the inside.